using the GenerateBlocks justify content setting to align content. In this example, the content at the top and the bottom aligns, but the amount of content in each column is different. And to do that, we need the justify content settings. So if we edit the page, and we need the block settings, we can see we've got display set to flex, and we've got these different settings. So if I change this one, I'll do it with the third column because it's easier to see. If I change this to align top, so there's a lot less content in this one than that one, but we can add space between to make them line up. Select a different one. Now the buttons line up. This is a really useful setting, but it's confusing how it works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start from scratch and explain how I made this layout work. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to start with a GenerateBlocks ready-made pattern. So I'm in the pattern library. So I'm now in the pattern library, and I want to use a featured section. Now I'm going to choose this one, which is feature F32. So I click the insert button, and that pattern is inserted into my page. The first thing I'm going to do is make sure one of the columns has more content than the other columns. So I'm just going to duplicate this paragraph. So now one column has more content than the others, and the other columns will align at the side of it. Now, what you can do if you want to, you can use the grid settings, but the grid setting doesn't have as many options as the FlexBox setting. So first I'll just show you how to align with the grid settings. So I've chosen the grid here. I need the WordPress settings sidebar, layout. Now I've got a certain amount of options. I can align all three boxes to the bottom, or to the top, or to the middle, but you're a bit limited with that option. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make these three inner boxes, or inner containers, into FlexBox containers, and then I've got more options. Once I've selected the three inner content containers, I want to choose the WordPress settings sidebar. I'm in the blocks option, in styles, and I want layout, and I'm going to click layout, display, flex. Now it looks a bit funny at the moment, and this is confusing when you first start using it. I need to scroll down, and I'm in flex direction. So this is layout, flex layout, flex direction, column. And now we're back to nearer to where we started from. Now I need to keep on scrolling down, and I'm looking for sizing, height, and I want 100%. Now it's set to pixels at the moment, so I must change it from pixels to percent. Now I've done that using it, selecting all three boxes at once, just to make it easier so it's not as confusing. You can see what I'm doing. But now what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the individual containers, and I can now use the justify content settings. So we're in the WordPress settings sidebar, block, styles, layout, and we can use the justify content settings. So for this first column, I want to set it to space between. And space between adds space between all the blocks. Now there's a similar one. So we go back to layout. This one's called space around, and that puts space below the bottom one and above the top one. I don't want to do that. I just want to have space between the individual blocks inside the container. So I've chosen space between. Now with this one, I'm going to reduce some of the content there just to make it easier to see what I'm doing. And I'm going to choose the same thing again. So if I choose layout, choose its parent container. Oh, it's this one I need. Layout. Ah. Now you need to be careful. What I did then, I chose the button container. Now the button container is inside this content container. So make sure you're using the content container for the individual block, or the individual set of blocks you want to change. The easiest way to do that is just place your cursor inside and go up to the nearest container. So I want to choose the parent container of this block. So selected the paragraph, go up the list, the nearest container, select that, and now I can choose the justify content options. So I'm going to pick space between, and if we just have a look at that, view the page. See now, although all three contents have got different amounts of content in them, the buttons line up at the bottom and the images line up at the top. Now there's other options, but this is one of the most popular things people want to do. If you want to use some of the other options, you've got to expand within what used to be called list view. They call it document overview now. But you click that button and then we scroll down or drill down, and I can set each individual container to have a different flex justify content. So if I wanted to, I could have that one aligned to the top. I could have the bottom container aligning to the bottom. Or I could have the first one to align to the middle. But it gives you a lot more options. Now, I'll just recap some of the most important points. One of the columns must be taller than the others. Otherwise, you won't see the side columns moving as you align them to the top or the bottom. You need to set the inner columns to layout, display, flex, and the direction to column. You need to set sizing to height of 100%, and then you can justify the content for each column. And if you want to, you can use the grid settings, but they are much more limited. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.